Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Goedemiddag, in case we have some lost South Africans over here. There we go. Bonjour and bonjour. Thank you for having me today. Today we'll be sharing a bit more on First Mining Gold and how we are going about unlocking golden opportunities, as we like to call them, in Ontario and Quebec. Do I have a clicker? There we go. Just a forward-looking statement. I think you've read enough of those today, so we'll just skip over that. I do want to pause here for a second and say that First Mining Gold acknowledges, respects, and supports the rights of the local Indigenous communities and the traditional lands in which we operate. We've got 3 projects in 3 different areas with a lot of local First Nations communities, and a lot of work goes into creating awareness and messaging and support of the projects. I'd like to add on that we also like to recognize and acknowledge the Fort Williams community, from which we are sharing an update today, and then also highlight the importance of National Truth and Reconciliation Day coming up and why it is important that we do acknowledge these things. Who's First Mining Gold? For those of you that don't know, we're a Canadian-based mineral and exploration company headquartered down in Vancouver. We have a market cap of $130 million, roughly $10 million cash on hand, and no debt. Our shareholder base is predominantly made up of retail investors, and that's why we love to come to these events and share a bit more about our projects and what we're doing. We've got 2 flagship projects that is wholly owned by First Mining, which is the Springpole Gold Project and the Duparquet Gold Project that I'll talk about today, and there's another one called the Cameron Project that I'll be available for afterwards. Critical to our success and core to our value is 3 pillars, which is social licensing, permitting, and the timing. We as First Mining take a lot of time to make sure that we engage and share about our projects. We always look for events and capacity where we can build partnerships and bring people to our projects and continue to advance those relationships. Permitting is important. We know it takes a long time, so we try to be proactive in our work programs, acknowledging that there's not always the focus of everybody, so the more you have a buffer and you can plan around that, the better. Timing is very important. Being in Canada, the weather, first of all, is very hard to deal with as a South African. But we've got a lot of species at risk, sensitive environments close to these projects, and we do our best to make sure that we are respectful of those periods, and we plan our work accordingly. We believe in order to maximize shareholder value, we need strength in our exploration strategy, and that is underpinned by our business values. So our business plan as First Mining Gold is focused on district scale exploration opportunities, advancing these projects, as well as the development opportunities that we have with that. Optimizing and de-risking each of these assets, and then also building up that project pipeline coming from behind it. No plan is good if it's not executable, so we spend a lot of time making sure that what we set out to achieve is filled up and made up of a proper gap analysis, and we have the opportunity to plan those work plans and then essentially at the end of the day get the boots on the ground working with everything that we need to work. I'm going to move over to Springpole Project, the project here in Ontario. It's roughly 400 kilometers northwest of Thunder Bay, and I believe it's similar distance to that of which the Musselwhite mine is, so just in comparison what that would look like. The project doesn't have infrastructure right into camp. The closest road is about 18 kilometers away, so the camp's predominantly accessed via float plane. It is supported 365 days a year, and we're very proud to say that 50% of the workforce at Springpole identifies as Indigenous Nations people, and they are from the communities of Cat Lake, Lac Sioux, and Slate Falls. 4.6 million ounces of indicated resource at the gold, just under a gram per ton. Springpole also has a silver resource on it. The most important thing about Springpole and what we believe is that it continues to grow as a project, and in its importance for providing local value to the communities, be it the First Nations communities, the business units around, as well as Ontario. It's an Archean age, low sulfidation epithermal deposit, and what that essentially comes down to is like an open pit, low grade bulk tonnage deposit. Mineralization is pretty consistent throughout the deposit, and if you look at this mine design plan over here, it's quite a small footprint in terms of a 5 million ounce deposit. The deposit has a strong argillaceous component to it, and that's why if you see that little photo, it's very broken up, and that's why it's predominantly an open pit mining scenario. In terms of ongoing development, as I said, this is a 365-day camp. We've got a modern bunkhouse set up, as you can see there in the bottom. It's fully supported with on-site kitchen, fully individual rooms, 34 rooms. We've got a core processing facility and quite a bit, so fully functional. The main focus of First Mining has been pushing this project through the permitting pathline and development, so making sure that we do all the environmental impact assessment studies. The EA was published, it was made available for feedback and commenting. Our team has been working very hard in getting that ready and working with all of the alternatives assessments and feedback and getting that into hopefully the final EA submission targeted for Q4. Pre-feasibility study was completed in 2021, and this is sort of like the next milestone for the project. Springpole also has a lot of brownfields opportunities, and over the last year we focused on the fundamentals of the geoscience, again trying to unlock this project. And a few critical things that we have with regards to Springpole is it has this critical mineral association. Apart from the silver, it also has tellurium, and it's got the same affinity for the gold mineralization, and we've been able to delineate sort of like a structural trend. We've been working and collaborating with the OGS quite a bit. They've been on site, as you can see over there, understanding what this could mean, because it is of economical quantities as well as defined by their last report. Fluorspar is also proximal to the project, quite important. So we've got these carbonatite dikes. There's a little photo. I don't know if you can see the purple very clear, but it's quite beautiful to look at, and another exciting opportunity for us to understand the critical mineral component this project could deliver to Ontario as well. By looking at this picture here on the right, we also worked with a structural consultant last year to try and better delineate and understand this low RQD zone. There's a basal detachment structure that has been modeled, trying to see if that is sort of controlling the mineralization, and essentially at the end of the day, work towards unlocking and finding more of these spring poles. Something that we're also very excited about on the exploration side is the brownfields opportunities. We believe Springpole has a lot more to offer than what it currently has within the resource. Using the findings from the structural study and revisiting the database, we were able to find this hole from 2013 that was never followed up, and it had just under a gram per ton over 101 meters, which is pretty significant. It's not modeled in any of the wireframes or in the model. So definitely the east extension target is something that we're following up and hoping to better understand. And as you can see, it can unlock a lot of value add to this project and potentially extend that life of mine. I'm going to switch over a little bit to the Birch-Uchi Exploration Project, which is proximal to the main Springpole land package. And I want to share a bit more about our discovery that we made last year. It's a challenger target. And what this is just showing, I know it's probably very small to read, but it is our process in terms of being deliberate in our exploration strategy and pushing on the geoscience to unlock these targets. So a lot of work went into delineating and digitizing data from way before most of our team was actually born. So that was hard work for them, and just getting this all pulled together. Soil campaigns, mapping campaigns, transects. We did airborne geophysics as well because we had a gap in our data, so we made sure that we did that in the fall of 2022. And then in the winter of last year, we had the opportunity to drill about 5 or 6 holes into the saddle target, and we had success. We got just under a gram per ton again, over 114 meters, which is pretty significant again for like a close surface mineralization expression. We then took all of that information in again, and we looked at the alteration and just understanding what this means, because we had these shear structures pretty close by. More digitization happened, and then we found this 100 ppb gold in soil anomaly, and we're like, okay, next summer, I guess we're going back out there. So the team did. And it was one of the last transects on the last day, running to get back to the boat before the storm rolls in, and geologist hit an outcrop, and he was like, we have to sample this. And true's nuts, came back at 25.6 gram per ton gold. I just need to fact check myself there, and you'll see why I need to fact check myself in a second. So we were very happy. A couple of weeks later, we got everybody out there. We did a blitz, and we were like, oh, we expanded this to a 16-meter sort of a footprint. Again, went back over the rear. This time we had a couple of saws added to the mix, and the team went out and we did some channel sampling as well as mapping and prospecting. 2 to 3 days ago, we put out a news release showing a bit more on the Challenger discovery and how we've advanced this even further, understanding that relationship of the structure, the alteration, and the mineralization. Very small to see, I apologize, I've got it there in some words, but we found a couple of grab samples adding 26 grams per ton, 20 gram per ton, 7 grams per ton, and everything is proximal to this intrusion. So you've got the intrusion, you've got the shear zone hosted mineralization sort of to the north of it, and it's only 375 meters between these two, so it's very close. So we're very excited. Visible gold as well. Our summer student found the gold, and she was ecstatic, as you can imagine. So just coming back to our exploration strategy and why it's important for us to just continue to be systematic. There is method to the madness, and there is value being generated in following this approach. I'm going to switch over the border to Quebec for a couple of seconds because we've got another exciting project over there. The Duparquet project is a little bit further, 900 kilometers east of here. It's year-round access via the highway. If you go to Timmins, you just continue to drive straight and you'll hit it. It's a little town called Duparquet. And we also have a 365-day operation. We actually have residents from the town living and working on the project. And we're quite proud to say that we also support a fully bilingual team out in Quebec. I'm still working on my French. All in all, we have roughly 6 million ounces on the project, ranging at 1.5 grams per ton in the various categories over there. Last year, we also put out an updated PEA since First Mining acquired the project. Classic, BUGB Greenstone Belt opportunity. Our tenure has been consolidated. We've got roughly 19 kilometers of real estate along the desert porcupine. And the main resource, which you can see over there highlighted by the arrow of Duparquet, is the cyanide. It's the main deposit over there. Gold mineralization tends to be focused around the high-strain corridors, and that is traditionally what has been the focus. In terms of the project, apart from consolidating the tenure, which was quite a success for us, the PEA also delineates and support open pit and underground opportunities, so there is favorable grade for both scenarios, and then of course satellite opportunities in Pitt and Duquesne. I've spoken about our project. I want to highlight here at the bottom that we also have renovated our office, so we made taking a modern approach to the town of Duparquet, which is a very small town, I think 600 residents if I remember correctly. And we're doing a lot of work in terms of advancing this project on the geoscience as well as the environmental science. In terms of the exploration, I've got another timeline here. We started drilling on this project in last year. We had a couple of phases of program. We're into that third phase now, and we had success, both like coming across the project in a validation approach, understanding the resource, making sure that we're comfortable with what we have out there, and again, coming back to the fundamentals of the geosciences and challenging what was traditionally thought about this project. To date, we've done roughly 1,000 meters, almost like not kilometers, on the project. So we're like, not going all out, but we are making progress. And I want to share a bit some of our successes that we have there in this next slide. So 3 of our highlights that I'm going to just pick, Buzz, Valentre, and the North Zone. Buzz was one of our first targets, and we were very excited. Consolidated the tenure once again, broke down the barriers, integrated all of the data, and we found this high grade 4.6 meters of 6.5 gram per ton opportunity, which is great underground grades for Buzz. It's open at depth. We're understanding the plunge of that, and we have added additional holes to this target in this recent campaign. Valentre, located between the central Duparquet and Dumico pits, the historical sort of resource centers. Again, there was a property boundary, nobody thought to explore it. We did, and we had a significant whole return there from last year. This year we've gone back. The little yellow stars are some of the highlights. We just put out a news release last week as well. Mineralization in that cyanide returning representative grades of the ore body. But the significance here, there's a 170-meter gap that we were able to identify, and we're doing the work and filling that out, stepping it down. And in the process, we have also delineated these higher grade trends coming through, so we're working on understanding that better and seeing where this is going. North Zone. That is not a mistake. All those yellow stars on hole 24 are all highlights. We were very happy to get that hole straight down that plunge, understanding exactly what that means for the project. Two of the highlights I'll put up is 10.67 grams per ton over 5.3 meters, as well as the 6 gram per ton over 33 meters. So very excited on this project. But the most important thing about the North Zone is it's outside of the cyanide. It's hosted in the volcanics, which is traditional Abitibi-style mineralization, not classical Duparquet-style mineralization. So a lot of work is going into this, delineating and understanding the plunge, the controls, and seeing what this means for the Duparquet project. Mineralization has traditionally expected, and the drilling stops at roughly 650 meters. It steps down, it goes down, and if we enter that next level of the 1,000 meters or so, it does open this project for re-rate and re-evaluation and a lot of growth opportunities. So again, for Duparquet, coming back to our strategy, very important that we do the work in integrating the data. It's still a new project. We're still doing a lot of digitization and cleaning up of the databases. We did an airborne geophysics program across the entire property this year. We did a full LiDAR as well, and then expanded the 3D geological model to cover the full tenure as well, integrating each of these resource centers. We have roughly 55,000 meters of drilling that we can plan into this project, so a lot of opportunity to keep it going and just continue to push this project. Because I'm running out of time, I'm just going to close out here. So what lies ahead for us at First Mining, apart from a couple of more days in the field before the snow chases us out? We had infill soil geochemistry campaign at Challenger to make sure we just further tie that up and understanding what that alteration and element signature is telling us. We are going to integrate all of that data, come up with a target model, and push forward with some drilling recommendations for that area, and of course understand that permitting path that we need to do as well. For Springpole, the final EA is targeted for Q4, so we're quite excited to see that milestone come through. And then, of course, understand that tellurium component. We've applied for the Critical Mineral Innovation Fund to understand how to better evolve that whole process. And then advance the Springpole East extension with drilling, infill sampling, model updates, and seeing what that does for the main Springpole resource as well. At Duparquet, we'll finish the bulk of that 12,000 meter program, and then the regional fieldwork programs, and then continue to push on our target catalog and prioritizing some of those holes. Thank you very much. Those two news releases are up on those QR codes if you're interested, and we're around available. And this is my team. This is not just my work. It's from all of us. So thank you for having us all out here today.